Or,
So just do the introduction again.
and so I will reintroduce Mark and indicate that we have both had many, many years of experience of leading bushwalks. Mark, could you go back and tell me that first walk again? You were talking to me a bit off air about that. It sounded like it might be worth talking about.
Well, the very first walk I went on was some friends of mine who are a little bit older than me, and they suggested me after playing football practice that I might want to go and walk. So they didn't really, they were very scant on on what I should bring or whatever. So I thought, oh, okay, well, I've got a backpack, but I'll just bring my Globite suitcase. And it was my mother's Globite suitcase, in fact, from about the 1950s circa. And so I thought, okay, well, what do I put in this suitcase? I don't have a sleeping mat. I'll take a copy of the Herald, of course, Saturday morning. Everyone's got to read the Herald, of course, so it's good to sleep on. I didn't have a tent. I think I'll find a camp cave at Marley Beach. Big mistake. There was no camp cave at Marley Beach, but I just slept amongst the palm trees. And then I had my sleeping bag was my very large towel. And I thought, okay, well, I'll take that. And then I got a cooking pot for my mum, like a saucepan, a few bit of clothes, wayward clothes, not even bushwalking clothes. But I did actually have one thing which is bona fide for many years, and I used for a long, long time, a pair of volleys. Because I started wearing volleys when I was 10 years old. And so I got my suitcase and arrived at Deer Pool.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm listening. Hello? So
Yeah, you just keep speaking, but what I might say is for anybody who is not speaking, i.e. Mark and me, it might be best if at this stage you turn yourselves mute.
all out mute.
Can you find it, Bob?
Is that it? It's
No,
been covered.
no, I can. If you go down to the bottom of the screen, you see the audio button. You can mute you. Yep, done it. You've done it.
Well done.
Well, good on you. Thanks, Mark. That should mean
Okay, that's
of
right.
interruption.
So anyway, I arrived with my mates, and they just laughed. They thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I turned up this suitcase. I said, "Well, where's your backpack? Is it high in the bush somewhere?" So this is what I'm taking. They thought I wouldn't last more than 5 minutes. Anyway, we walked down Deer Pool track to Marley Beach, and I went for a swim and all that sort of stuff. And we had a great time. But that night was seriously one of the coldest nights of my life. And I'm thinking, how can I cold it get? First week in November, and it was November 1972, and so I was only 16 at the time. But I froze my what's off, and I think if I ever get out of this and get alive and back to civilization, well, the first thing I do is buy me a backpack. So the next weekend I went into Paddy Palin, and I bought a Paddy Palin Mountaineer, which weighed 3.5 kilos.
Wow.
Not even wet, a bit dry without it, and it had leather straps, no hip belt, a basic canvas shell. But oh my God, it was like luxury compared to a suitcase. And from then on, I started walking. And then my very first walk, distant overnight walk, apart from that ridiculous affair, was down to Blue Gums. And we walked down Beauchamp Falls. We started at Neats Glen, Beauchamp Falls, Rodriguez Pass. Of course, that has been closed for donkey's years now, which is very sad. And then all the way to Blue Gums. And we didn't camp in Acacia Flat because in those days you could actually camp at Blue Gums. And so we camped amongst the Blue Gums. There were wild horses there. The place looked like a park. These days it's quite different, but there was virtually no undergrowth, all green, lush grass. I remember seeing my very first ever deaf adder, which scared the hell out of me. Luckily, it wasn't in my tent. I actually had a tent that I bought, a Paddy Palin tan Japara tent, which didn't have a floor in it. I also bought a billy, and I bought I didn't have a stove actually. We didn't have stoves. We just had fires. But I also wore volleys. So in fact, I didn't buy a pair of boots for about over 10 years. I just wore volleys, and volleys. I've always been a great lover of. But when I was turned 40, my arch support of my foot basically caved in, and I couldn't do volleys anymore. So anytime I ever take volleys anymore is actually on a canyon trip, and that's only for a very short time while I'm in the canyon itself. So that was my first trip. But my hands came back calloused and bloody from carrying this suitcase. And I have to admit that it was, I don't know how I survived, but somehow I managed to, luckily it was overnight. It'd been 2 nights, I reckon I would have died probably. But anyway, it is what it is. And then the rest, they say, is history. So I started off from there. But I didn't join the MPA until 1980 because I didn't actually know what the MPA even was. Or in fact, any bushwalking club was. Just with my friends, and we go out every weekend virtually. And the first, from about 16 through to 20, I went a lot of walks, and I didn't go on one single day walk. Every walk was either a weekend walk or we didn't go away. It was simple as that. And we went to
Just
anyway.
okay.
That's it.
So that's the first one, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I never went bushwalking when I was Mark's age, way back then. Everywhere I walked was in the bush. I grew up surrounded by forests, so I didn't even define it as bushwalking until I arrived in Sydney. And when I was posted to, believe it or not, a country school, which was Heathcote High School, as my country service, I thought, oh God, what am I going to do? I'm used to being in the bush. Where will I go? Went up to the Hurstville Library, and there was a little notice on the Hurstville notice board about something called the National Parks Association and all these walks. Also in the Hurstville Library, there was a guidebook for walks. It had close to 30 potential bushwalks I could do between Hurstville and Sutherland. Now, most of those are no longer possible. Most of those have disappeared, but you now know why there is a forest road and a Stony Creek road, and all the others, they really were on forest roads and Stony Creek roads.
Good old days.
Yeah. So my first walk for the NPA was 1975. It was a overnight camp in Bundanoon using the youth hostel. I was so innocent that I first drove to a place called Bundanon until I realised that it was the wrong place and had a long, big drive to get back and around. My body ached like crazy after the 2 full-day walks that I did in and out. And that was it, gone. Didn't talk about Dunlop volleys, though, in that first time. That was almost the only style of walking. You gave up because of your feet collapsing, Mark.
Yeah, my feet collapsing. But before that happened, look, I used Dunlop volleys to climb the Western Alps. We did Federation Peak and Dunlop volleys. And when we're walking up to Federation Peak, we come across this group from Victoria, and they had the big boots on, Bluntstones and whatever. And they said, "You guys are walking, where you come from?" I said, "Oh, we walked the South Coast track and the Old River route and places they never heard, or they heard of, but I mean, anyway, they thought we were joking." And we climbed Federation Peak, which was quite a fair in itself, and I was scared the hell out of me because it was a pretty scary climb up there.
Yeah.
And it also was rain, and the thing was, it was 14 days of walking, of which 13 days it rained. And the last day was the last day of walking out. The day it was beautifully sunny, but that's already for you, and that's bushwalking for you. But I couldn't wear volleys up to about the age of 40, and I haven't worn them for the last 27 years, except when I do a canyon or go down a place like Morong Deep. Well, I actually take them for a little while, but after about an hour or two, my feet are absolutely screaming in volleys. I just can't wear them. It's a bit of a sad, actually, but I maybe become soft in my old age.
Look, I don't know about you, Mark, but I've found that Dunlop volleys are brilliant on gravel, on granite.
Yeah.
Are hopeless on sandstone.
Yeah.
Suck your toes off in winter when they get wet, and you end up getting them basically pulling all the toenails out of your shoes by the time that they've got sunk. A mix. Richard Thompson, for those of you who have not walked with him, you should. He bounds along like a gazelle in his Dunlop volleys up and down any hill, and somehow has survived without once doing an ankle in. I'm jealous of hell. And Roger Lambert, my good mate Roger, swears by Dunlop volleys.
The thing about Dunlop volleys, Brian, I reckon, is when Dunlop volleys became made overseas, the quality went down big time.
Yeah.
I used to wear Dunlop OCs before that, and you can still buy Dunlop OCs on the Dunlop site. They're $55. They come in things of shades of pink to puce to green to shade, every color of the sun. I'm not joking. You can get these very fancy things, but unfortunately, when they were made overseas from Australia, I really did think, and it was the general consensus amongst the bushwalking community, that the quality went down and they didn't last as long,
Look, I would have thought, and apologies for saying this, Mark, but noting Mark's sense of clothing when he walks in the bush, that pink Dunlop volleys would be the last thing that he'd be worried about.
Well, I do like colourful clothes because I always ascertain that if you're a colourful
Julie's
makeup
given that a
is like-
thumbs up, by the way, Mark, and so's Bob.
when my daughters, when they were 3 or 4 years old, I actually bought them pink Dunlop volleys, and they absolutely loved them. And I'm not sure I suppose you can still probably buy them. I don't know. I mean, I still look, Brian, I still buy volleys because occasionally I said I do a canyon trip. I'm doing a whole lot of canyons coming up this year, and I do actually like them when you're paddling down the Wollongambie and scrambling around. I actually like the volley because they dry quickly, and because I'm on a lilo or a surf mat, paddling along. I actually don't do much walking, and they're actually very good. And I feel very safe for them scrambling between all the rocks when there's you got to carry your lilo over the rocky, the cascadey bits, whatever. So
when you give up on bushwalking, they're excellent on doing work on the roof.
They're most of the roofers I know around here, all the Italian blokes who did my roof the other day, they did the gutters. They got volleys. I said, "Oh mate, they're brilliant. They're fantastic."
Absolutely,
and they love them. They really do. They reckon they're brilliant.
Yeah,
and so they're only $35 a pair.
Yeah, so, excellent on roof work. Yeah,
roof it. So there you go. Anyway, anyway,
all right. Let's go away from footwear. What got you into leading walks, Mark? Because I mean, this is an exercise in self-flagellation, taking people out into the bush, isn't it?
Well, I have to admit,
you've got to put up with a whole pile of pains in the ass, really.
Well, look, a lot of people, when I first went, there's about 6 blokes, and we all started walking together when I was young, 16, 17 years old. Yeah. Then they all sort of petered off because I got married. I didn't want to walk for whatever reason. And I thought, look, I've got to join a club. So I joined the NPA in 1980, and my first walk was with Richard Thompson. And we did Edgeworth David Crevasse, and it was him, and there was a whole lot of Steve Owens and a lot of people like that, and people, Lynn Starmer, people you would know, you're no longer with us anyway. The thing is, and Richard said to me, you should lead walks. I said, oh, really? He said, well, you come here and walk, your way around the bush, you should lead walks. And I thought about it for about a minute or two, and a bit longer than that, actually. And then I decided I would lead walks. So the next walk I did, the very first walk I led the NPA was an unmitigated disaster in ways, because it was the most crazy walk when I think about it. And what it was, in a nutshell, we got to Canangra, we walked down Burke's Buttress, we got to the junction of Canangra Brook and Darnay Brook, we left our stuff, we climbed up over the Thurat Spies, we abseiled down the other side, and there's like a scree slope which goes down to Darnay Brook, full of stinging trees and a scree slope, and then walked back down to the campsite. And there was I managed to rope in 3 NPA people who didn't know me. They're all screaming at me, and they were absolutely ballistic. They said, "We're never walking with you again. You're a maniac. You shouldn't take this up here." And they never done abseiling either, by the way. And I had to teach them abseiling. Got the harness out and the whole thing. So when we got up the cars, we walked up Murdering Gully, by the way, to top it off. So it was a nice cocktail of interesting. And when they said to me, "I'm never walking with you again as long as I live," and I've never seen it since. And that was my first bushwalk at the NPA. And then I decided that, look, I really have to tone things down a bit because I'm scaring people away. And so I started doing easier walks like Blue Gums and Perry's and whatever, it doesn't matter. And that's how I started getting. So but I just love leading walks. I have to admit, I like being in charge. I don't like following people. I know I do go with the leaders. I almost never go up in the whole time I've been in the NPA, which is 40 something years. I've been on about 6 other walks. I believe six walks. That's it. So I just like being in charge. And that's not like I'm a control freak, but I like picking the people I want to go with, and it is what it is, and people seem to like what I do, and they always come flocking back. So I must be doing something right.
Yeah, we all did pretty silly walks in those early days, didn't we?
Well, some of it's forgotten, and people look, one of the blokes walking to a stinging tree on that walk, and he grabbed the stinging tree, a little baby one coming down the screw slope near Darnay Brook, and he screamed his blue lungs. I won't exactly say, because there's a mixed company here. I won't say what this bloke said, but the thing was, he said, "You're a maniac. I don't want to come back there. I hate this place." And he was almost crying, this bloke. And this is a big beefy guy. I'm thinking, geez, not very tough in the NPA, are they? I mean, geez. Anyway, the thing was, I never saw these guys again, but it is what it is. And but I have to say that, Brian, that all the hundreds of walks I've done, and I've done 820 now, because I have a journal, and I've every walk I've ever done, I've written it down, every single walk I've literally ever done. People have done the places, the birds. I'm a bit like you, a bit of a bird now. And the thing is, but in all those thousands of people, there's only been probably a handful of people I've ever met that I would say I would never want to see you again because they were obnoxious and they were pains in the bums. But generally speaking, most people I work with I like. And there were probably hundreds of people I'd never work with again, only for simple reasons because they're not up to it. You know, I mean, and that's the simple reason, and not because they're not fit enough. And my walks, some of the walks are grade 5 or 6 are pretty hard. And, and it is what it is, and they will like or don't. But
that takes me to a really interesting question. I mean, most of my biggest problems have been when I've actually been tail end Charlie for somebody else's walk.
Oh, really?
I don't rarely have had any problems on my own walks, though we'll come to a little discussion, if you like, about what do you do when you think people are not up to it. But there was one classic walk in that same territory that you dragged those people through who swore they would never walk with you again. When I was tail end Charlie, we dropped down from the Craft Wall straight down to Canangra Creek down the spur.
Yeah.
I was straight down the side into the creek, basically. I was down there for ages thinking, where in the hell's the rest of the party? And what had happened was somebody had slipped and dislocated his shoulder halfway down the slope. My tent was already up down the bottom. I went back up with another person, not just myself, and because we'd gone out very early in the morning to get through this walk, fairly long one, as you would probably guess, if that's
yeah.
And I said, look, I'm going to have to get this bloke back for you. Now his shoulder was out about 4 inches out of his socket.
Oh my God!
A long way out. The only way we were able to get any relief for him was to create some sort of harness to hold his arm in place so he was not in sheer pain.
Oh God, poor bloke.
Oh, it was terrible. Now, if you know where we are, we still had a slot to get through to get him back.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
And we had to turn him sideways and slowly shuffle him back, and it took all day to get him back out to the cave.
I would imagine.
We had to sleep overnight in the cave. We'd found somebody who would take him to hospital, which is why we know how far out of his socket his arm was.
Oh God!
And we had no sleeping bags. Now this is July.
Yeah.
This is the dance hall cave. I tell you what,
it's a hard life.
I was frozen. We got up as soon as we could the next morning, as soon as there was a hint of light, and bolted. We were arriving back down the bottom of the hill where our tents were before the others had got up that morning, just so we could get warm.
Oh, far out. Oh my God.
So there was another classic case, and this is probably going to take me to the topic we should discuss next. And I was again tail end Charlie for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that person was away the very day of all the bookings being done. So his mother took all the bookings, and he said, bugger this guy. His name was Neville, by the way.
Yeah.
And so we had 36 people listed on the walk.
Oh wow!
Some of which should never have done it. It was a 2-pack walk through Brisbane waters. We were going to use a cave.
Right. Yeah.
One lady was wearing a really thick cashmere jumper.
Oh God!
Carrying nothing but soft drink, was dying of heat. I thought she was going to pass out. I said, I want you to stop and I want you to take that jumper off. I've got nothing underneath. I don't give a damn. Walk in front of me. I don't want you to die of heat.
Oh my
It
God.
was, we were 3 hours late getting her in. We had to
Yeah.
bundle her down to Wonderbine train station as soon
Yeah,
as
yeah.
we
I
could
can
get
imagine.
her out.
Just that Pindar's Cave, right? Pindar's
Pindar
Cave.
Cave we were
Yeah,
at that
yeah, yeah.
stage. Yeah. It was a disaster.
Mm,
Now, it was a disaster because, firstly, we didn't have the right cull of the people suitable
mm,
for the walk. And secondly, we didn't have too many people. We had too many people.
yeah.
How do you handle those sorts of issues, Mark?
Well, the thing is that I have to admit, Brian, in the last 2 years of my walking career in the NPA, I've had more accidents happen than the preceding 3 decades. And I've had a lot of people, including my poor, long-suffering wife, who's broken three major bones on my walks. And I've had people in the last, as I said, very recent, even the last 12 months have broken a lot of ankles, and I've had to crack out the PLB, and they have been rescued by helicopter down the Butterwings, Red Ledge Pass, etc., etc., etc. But I mean, the thing is, I get a lot of people calling up at me, and I have to try to interview them if they're newbies and say, "What have you done? Who have you walked with?" And if there's somebody who I know, like a leader, like there might be, well, a whole lot of leaders I know. I know everybody just about, but I say, okay, I'll bring the leader up and say, what was this person like? And sometimes people have a very flattering view of themselves, and this is a problem. A lot of people are quite frankly delusional in regard to their ability, and the ability is, oh, I've done a grade 2 walk. Let's do a grade 5 walk. Sorry, you don't jump 3 places. I've had that quite a bit lately. People said, I've done this, I did that. Sorry, you did a walk on the raw, and you want to walk an MMB. They're a bit different, right? And I have to tell people, look, I don't think you're up to it, and some people like it, but I'm a very open person, very blunt. I said, look, sorry, you're just not fit enough, blah blah blah. But generally speaking, most people I do walk with, normally are up to, because a lot of them are pretty regular people I walk with, and I know their abilities, but occasionally get somebody who's not up to scratch, but also numbers are difficult. I find that I always have a wait list of about 10 people, and I take probably too many people. Everyone tells me I take too many people.
Well, I've asked Judy if she's taught you how to say no, Mark.
Yeah, but I mean, the other day we did a walk out, going to do Starlight's Trail. Now I found in fact that the Starlight's Trail, the Schloss track was absolutely like a nightmare and a washout. So we went to a Hearns Lookout, and anyway, so I had a lot more people there. In fact, quite a few NPA were losing the walk. Bandula and Kay, other people like that. And when we took the car, had this great mass of people, and everyone was absolutely flabbergasted. I said, well, it's an easy walk on the track. We'll be fine. And anyway, I always have about 2 people or 3 people, one at the end who's a leader who go at the end, who knows what they're doing, one in the middle, and then myself. And we all did the walk, I mean, I won't tell how many people I had, because you'll probably somewhat dismayed. But anyway, we all got back, no dramas and whatever. But the trouble is, look, a while ago, I joined another bush club. Well, I joined the bush club, and then I decided, okay, well, I'll put on joint walks. Big mistake. Then I was getting 35, 40 people ringing up. I mean, you can't have 35, 40 people on a walk. It's even a walk down the Royal on the Curramoors. I don't want to, apart from anything, I don't want to trash the place, right?
Yeah.
And also, I'm very careful these days about sometimes going to places which is quite sort of sensitive, and particularly like this is indigenous sites, there might be art sites and that. I don't want anyone to know about these things. I know I sound a bit selfish about it, but I don't want to take every Tom, Dick, and Harry to these places, because some of these places really are very special. And some people, I got the gist, they don't have the right environmental credentials. I mean, or feeling for the place as much as I do. I don't know. Maybe be a bit judgmental on people, I suppose, but it's not always easy to do that, So, but it's a bit of a balance act, to tell you the truth, of people and numbers and whatever. But so far, I haven't lost anybody in the bush. I've never actually lost anybody in my life in the bush. Although a couple of people I felt like losing, quite a few. But what about you for your walks? I mean,
Yeah, look, there there was a person in the 1980s, I don't know whether it's a she, who was so hopeless at navigating
right.
that she was a danger to everybody.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I know she has been banned from most clubs, not because she was a terrible person, but she would even walk the wrong way from when we were getting back to a car park and head off into that sort of thing.
I do know a few people like that, Brian. I don't know one or two people, friends, mutual friends of ours who are
There are
very
mutual friends where my wife and I make sure those people are between us whenever we take them walking.
but even going to the toilet in the bush, you probably have heard a certain story.
Even going overseas to the right hotel.
Yeah, the same person we're talking about anyway. But the thing, that person's come with me Peru very certainly, so I'll have to keep an eye on that person. Morocco maybe as well. Anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, I started putting a lot of walks, a lot of trips on the MPA, and overseas trips as well, and I found they've been very well received as well. And they generally, some of the wildlife, a lot of them are walking as well. And anyway, I like a mixture, the local stuff, and day walks and whatever. Anyway, yeah. So
I used to do a bushwalking safety and navigation course at TAFE as a TAFE certificated course
right,
for professional guides.
yeah.
And this was late 80s, 90s. It was a perfect opportunity for me to buy all my gear on tax deductible status.
Brilliant idea.
Mind you, the gear is now very much out of date and much heavier than you can buy now.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Though, let me just say, I've never seen a full pack that I would be brave enough to drag up and down on ropes through canyons like the stuff we used to have in the olden days. Now, modern packs, you would think that they'd be ripped to pieces within one or two pulls. But anyhow, that's another matter. It depends, I guess, on weight. But in those days, I had sort of 3 rules for navigation, and I try to do this when I'm ever leading walks, and I'd be interested in what you do. I try to train people to look at the countryside with me. So I will stop and say, where are we in a city? And have you noticed the creek over there, or which way is that ridge running, or all those sort of things, to try to see whether they're actually observing. And I won't even let them look at a map until they've looked at landscape. That's my first thing. 1, can you read the countryside? 2, can you then read a map? And once you can do that, I allow them to touch a compass. But gee, it worries me that some people are going out now not being able to do any of those 3 things, but relying on all trails.
Well, I'll tell you something, Brian. My first walk, though, that navigation was some friends of mine before pre-MPA, but then I went with Tom Sinclair, who was very knowledgeable and very, incredibly professional in his approach to it. And he said, look, the thing about navigation is about 3/4 of navigation is not even looking at the map, the compass, looking at where you are, and taking it and trying to work out what you see equates to what's on the map, and what's that knoll look, what's that creek look, as you say, whatever it goes. And that's what for the first 25 years of my life, I didn't even have a GPS. My first GPS was Richard Thompson went to the Mile High Sea. What's the place in Denver? And he went to a conference there, and he came back and I got a message from him. He rang me up. He said, "Oh, I got this thing called a GPS." I said, "Oh, what is it?" He said, "Oh, it's a new thing on the market. It's by a group called Garmin." And he said, "Oh, do you want one?" I said, "How much are they?" I said, "Oh, they're 100 and something US." I said, "Get me one." He told me what they did. Anyway, he brought back a whole bucket of that load of these things, and I bought it off, and that was my very first GPS. That was about 20 something years ago. But as regarding things, some people these days look at all trails, and they look at, well, what about mapping apps? There's a lot of apps, Venza and Map Out and whatever, and they just follow it blindly. The trouble is, things like all trails. The problem is, if someone has made an all trails trace, and they've made a lot of mistakes, and you copy that thing, because a lot of these things are public, and they can copy it from their account. Once we're in the community of such. If that guy or that woman has made a bloody mistake going to 10 different spots, you're following that blindly. You're making the same damn mistakes, right? And the walk will be a lot longer as it is. I mean, I always use map and compass. I always take a map and compass on my walk, unless I'm walking on the Royal somewhere where I don't need it. But generally, even then you can get lost there on the Royal if you're not careful. But the thing is that basically I always carry it with me. I always feel comfortable. I don't feel naked without it. I always have my GPS. Of course, I always have my PLB now. But I try not to use the as little as possible my phone. But some people have the phone around like their life raft, and they cannot go a single place. oh, the GPS, oh, it's not on all trails. Oh, I can't do it. It's not on all trails. Well, I mean, how about learning a few bit of basic navigation? But a lot of people, quite frankly, I think are too lazy to do that, and they don't want to be bothered. This is much easier. I said, well, what happens when your phone dies? Oh, well, I've got a power bank. It won't die, but it'll so
Yeah, and down at the bottom of a deep, steep gully or gorge, there's not brilliant reception.
I know there is. I know. But the thing is, Brian, I know a few good people, and I won't mention any names here, of course. Keep it above board, but who have followed their all trails in areas like MMB, Muggy Murray Band, Gardens of Stone, and they said, "Oh, this looks tracking out." And Joe Blow did it in 7 hours. Oh, we can do it in 7 hours. Or Joe Blow might have did it by himself with his mate and whatever. They'll take 10, 15 people. There's no one in the world they're going to get through what this bloke did, doing the same course, torturous track, scrub bashing, regrave up the fires and floods over the last 4 years, and get back to the cars, and then it'd be before dark, if at all. And a couple of times these people have been benighted, and it is what it is. And they anyway, and they eventually had to call the chopper, PLB, blah blah blah. Anyway, it happens all the time. The other day I was listening to something on the news about a youth group went down. They went down they were going to climb up the coal in Kadumba. They got down to the Kadumba camp, and on the way back up to the fire trail, they got tired. So they decided to call crack out the PLB, call the chopper, 5 of them, and the
no.
And so they weren't sick, they weren't injured, that they were just tired, and they wanted a chopper ride. And wasn't it great fun?
Ah, that is a ridiculous waste of resources.
The other thing too, Brian, when the Butterwangs at June last weekend, June last year, there was a woman who unfortunately broke her ankle. She went near Burrenbeat Brook. Anyway, we had to get the chopper in, and when the guys turned up, I said, "Oh, where you guys come from?" We come from Bankstown. He said, "Well, can I ask you how much it costs every chopper trip to take from Bankstown to Liverpool to come to us or the Blue Mountains? $7,500.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So $7,500 of taxpayers' money is wasted on somebody who can't be bothered walking out. Sorry, that's rubbish." And they said, "Oh, we know we don't charge people, blah blah blah." And a lot of people said to me, "Oh, yeah, this a lot of the TikTok, like the Instagram mob, has said to me, oh, well, why should we join a club? Because we walk with our mates." Well, the thing called insurance, which you're covered by, if you fall off a ladder or fall off a thing, at least you're covered thing. The other thing actually really pissed me off big time about this following the phone is a lot of people go into areas which are actually closed. Bottom of Belmore Falls, Gerringong Falls, and they post this photograph. Look at me having fun, blah blah blah. Well, why should you post it on Facebook, for guys? So you go into a closed area. If you happen to be injured, you have to be rescued. You have a big bill. I mean, and so you bloody well should. And it really annoys me big time when people do that sort of stuff. That's my rave for the
night. You're allowed to rave about that, yeah. Look, I might be getting old, but I kind of like the days when I never have a mobile phone with me. I'm not even in reception. I prefer to be, actually, despite the fact that I lead all the time, alone, and walking on my own in risky bush bashing country, to me, is the idea of heaven. And if I die out there, that's my fault.
That's right.
It's that
the bury a thing and put a candle across for you, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, that'd be all right. I might even grow a nice native orchid.
that sounds a great idea. But your bones will be fertilizer.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. So you don't keep a black band list?
Brian, I have
a secret one.
I have extremely good memory for people, and everyone I've never liked on a walk, which is on the head of a blind butcher, which is not many.
Yeah.
Very few people. I mean, seriously, but I do know most of the people who haven't walked me. I said, looking out. I don't want to be unfair with you, but I don't think you're up to it. I have a lot of people who say to me, and they walk with me regularly, and they want to come on my walk. And I said, look, I know you did a walk down Taffy's Rock and whatever, but this is actually a lot harder than that. And you have to be also very serious. You have to be quite brutal in regard to and quite realistic in regard to the grading. So you don't grade something which is a grade 5 or grade 3 because you want to have your friend along. Because, I mean, that person's going to be suffering big time. And I just tell to people, I knock back people all the time. And in fact, regular friends, sorry, you're not up to this. I mean, and can I handle it? No, you can't. Sorry, that's the way it is. And you have to be brutal. I don't want to be cruel about it, but I just have to say sorry. I mean, there's plenty of other leaders leading easy walks. Go with them. Do that.
I might pose this for everybody in the place, and they can think about this when we sort of go to general chit chat soon. But I wrote a year, for those of you who've been around in the NPA for a long time, it's about 15 years ago, I think. I wrote those columns while the Billy Boils, which was a regular feature in the NPA's journal, and that was all about bushwalking skills and things. And one of the pieces was on grading. And I actually advised, with tongue firmly in my cheek, that you don't look at the grading of the walk, you look at the leader, and then you decide how you would grade the leader, and they might have a better understanding of whether you can do it or not. And for those of you who are walks followers and don't lead walks, I'd be interested to know if you keep that in your mind when you go on a walk. Is this the person I like to walk with, or does this person take walks that just doesn't suit me? And I suspect I suspect Mark and I probably get graded.
My harshest critic, without a doubt, is my wife. If you're listening to this at the moment, she's working at the moment on course. She might listen, and she will say to me, "This is a BS walk. This is rubbish. You said there wasn't any off track stuff. There's bloody off track. You said there wasn't gravel stuff. There's gravel stuff. You're full of bloody BS. You are." You know, and she'll say a bit stronger language than that. And anyone who walks with me or my regular walks will know. Judy will not. She won't live backwards and coming forward. Said, you're deceiving you. They're deceiving me. Because she always asks me every weekend, and like, can I handle this walk? And don't come off the crap. Just tell me seriously. Is it a hard walk? Is it this? Is there a river cross? Is there a slippy beach? Because she's broken her ankle, she's broken her arm, and she's broken her kneecap on my walks in 3 different walks, and various places, Donkey Mountain, etc. And she said, I don't want to bloody break anything else. So I'm trying to avoid breakages. But a lot of people have said to me, and a lot of my regular walkers will tell me, who particularly some who are very, very blunt and forthright, this is garbage. This is not a grade 4 walk. This is a grade 5 or a grade 6, And when I did the walk, we did a walk from Nunes, and we finished at a place called Cape Horn. We walked all on the length of the Great Dividing Range. It was a 4-day Easter walk. I've done it a few times. And when we got down to Nunes, everyone said to me, without a doubt, you are the biggest liar under the sun. This is a grade 6 walk, and because it was regrowth and rubbish, and it was anyway. They never let me got it, and they said, "Don't ever trust you." I mean, I know I put my grade at least 1 grade before, so I'm trying to now, after all that happened, I think I'm a bit more circumspect about that. I bet I've actually make it a bit more realistic. The trouble is with me, Brian, I like to go a lot of areas I've never been to before. I'm going to this area this weekend. I'm a part of the Garden of Stone we've been. And I read the Bush Explorers book, and I read their gradings. And I think, okay, it looks like a grade 5 or grade 6. But the trouble is, it does actually scare a lot of people away. And I don't want to scare everyone away, but I like a lot of my regular friends, but we have to be also realistic. And you have to be, well, if it's a grade 6 and you're graded a 4, well, you're not doing them a proper service. They'll be peeved off of you if they do survive at all.
Yeah, Bob, I noticed your 6 fingers up. Look, Mark's not the only one who's got a wife. I did a 3-day walk in the Butterwings. It actually included Burrumbeet Brook, but it cut across through an area below that and along the creek line back. And my wife has described that walk ever and a day, and it's been some time, as the divorce walk. Now, she's still with me, so perhaps I've been a good boy since, but
I've been married for 40 years.
It hovers over my head regularly.
I must admit, when I first met my wife, we did a walk. We went from Eden to Malakuta, and we did this long walk, through the Nature Reserve, and I carried her guitar. She had this guitar. I carried for 100 kilometers all the way to Malakuta. And anyway, it was love at first sight. I can tell. I was spitting with her. Had a pack. I had a big pack. I was carrying this guitar. I felt like I was climbing the Go Like suitcase again. But anyway, it is what it is. And but anyway, we've been together for 40 years. She's done hundreds of walks with me. And anyway, it is what I say. But she said to me, she will never go on a pack walk with me again because it's too hard. And she does really look at all my walks and sort of give them the once over to make sure that she can hack it. Yeah. So anyway. It is, yeah. She's very, very tolerant of me. You have to be, I suppose.
I think Stradiva is dropping in and out on her screen by the look of that. She's come in and out 3 times on 2 different bookings now. Mark, we're both getting on. I don't know if I'll be well, I'm certainly not leading grade 5 and 6 full pack walks anymore, thanks to that knee that I stuffed up about 8 years ago. How are we going to replace ourselves?
Well, I've been trying to get people to join the MPA. I think probably at least 200 or 300 people in the last few years have joined the MPA because they want to walk with me. And I've asked all these people, you should start leading walks. So I've been nagging people. The trouble is, look, I've nagged people a few years and they won't do it, and they won't do it now. And I know you have done it too, Brian, to certain people, and they won't take up the mantle, but the torch, whatever. But the thing is, luckily, I've had a few people I've met who will recently, and they're a lot younger than us, probably a good 20 years younger, who will actually start to lead. But I don't know if there's actually a lot of really young people coming through for a lot of the clubs as much as there used to be. I'm not sure. I know that groups like Meetup have a lot of people, which is a very laissez-faire organisation, and they come and go.
It doesn't appear to be club walking much anymore, is it? And you're right, Mark, about the insurance issue. I hope they discover the value of being insured.
I always tell people, and one of the reasons I said, look, I know I've seen you on. Look, I'm in about 10 different walking sites and the Facebook, and the people contact me all the time. Every couple of days, I get someone asking, "Can I walk with you?" I said, "You can walk with me, but there's a free walk. I always give them a freebie, one free walk. Then you're going to join the MPA." I said, "There's no second free walk." Okay, and about 80% say yes, and they join the MPA, and which is great, and I love that. But I said the main reason I'm always carrying the MPA is because of the insurance as well, and not only that, because also the club is much more structured. That I've used a group of friends. Let's go on a walk. Let's go down to wherever, but we're an MPA. It's on the program. You see the grades, the whole thing, and suppose you can get some idea of if you can't handle it, whatever. And I think that actually pulled a lot of people in. And most people I've actually asked during the MPA, even the last few years, are still members that say, I must be doing something right, I think. And I said, don't just go with me. Love other leaders as well, which we work walking with as well. So some people do go with other leaders, but I have asked a few young people to come through, and they are taking up the mantle, as I said, and they are leading walks, and that's fantastic. I really love seeing that. But the trouble is, there still is enough leaders, and that's the basic problem, Brian. Because every walk I bloody will do, I get 20 people ring up, and I don't want to take 20 people all the time. I don't. But the thing is, there's no other leaders, and there's no other people want to go to the MMB. No one doing this. And then we need more people on the club. We just need more people. Yeah. And I think there was a lot more people leaders. There'd be even more people in the club as well. Anyway.
Yeah. I reduced my numbers by only leading on Mondays and Thursdays now. But I've got into trouble because people say,
really?
we don't, we don't see you on walks anymore because we still work. And then I got into a major trouble a couple of weeks ago. It says, your bloody knee. You realise it might be hurting you, but it's hurting us too, We
can't... oh, really?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, gee, thanks a lot.
I mean, people often ask me, they said, how come you're still having to retire at 67? And the main reason it is because I want to travel a lot. And a lot of these trips, like overseas trips, aren't cheap. Like, I went overseas 5 times last year. I went to Tasmania as well. Now, all these things, we spent probably over 40,000 each, a lot of money. Now, I can't afford to retire and live that sort of lifestyle I want to live. Sure, yeah. I could go a trip to Mudgee or Kosciuszko, whatever I want to do. But I want to go overseas and do as much as I can. I'm with a woman who I'm very lucky, who's very tolerant of me, but also has this great lust and for travel. And that's why I've put a lot of things on the program. And every time I put a thing on the program, we're going to Madagascar in another couple of weeks. Yeah. And they got other trips next year, Morocco, Peru, Ecuador. Every trip I put on gets booked out because people want to come on the walk, and the people I know each other, and people I've walked with a lot. And the thing is, I think it's a great thing, and that's the reason I can't afford to retire. And the other thing I don't want to retire is, Brian, because I do a lot of gardening. It's a very physical job, and I'm always I often work 6 or 7 hours, 8 hours sometimes. It keeps me fit for walking. If I wasn't doing it, I'd have to walk probably 3 times a week. I don't know what I'd do. I'm not sure. I'm a bit of a hyper sort of character. I don't like sitting around for very long.
Yeah. I've tried this trick a few times, and that's on walks. and I shouldn't call it tricks, because people will get to know my naughty tricks too much if I admit to them. But look, I've got to go back and check at the back. Would you lead for a while and get somebody else to do it for a couple of hours? And,
Oh, really?
yeah, and see how it goes. It's quite fun watching them actually when you're walking from behind to see how they handle it, whether they are pacing themselves properly for the rest of the party, whether they're checking to see whether people are actually following them, and little things like that. It's actually quite fun.
Maybe I should try those. But I mean, I've asked people on walks before, do you want to like leading one? And very few people put their hand up.
Yeah.
And they just don't. They
But
just
they
do
will,
it.
but they will do that sort of thing. That's what
Yeah.
yeah. And then I've then had a little sit down with them sometimes and said, you really did a pretty good job there. You actually did look around and see if people were following, and even if they were, it was a way of sort of saying, yeah, these are the sorts of things that you're doing. Because I know most people don't lead walks because
Yeah.
they think they will lose people or lose their way. They can't navigate or something.
Mainly they're embarrassed about it.
But really, the biggest thing about leading is not the navigation. There's a whole group of people that will help you with that.
Yeah.
The big thing is actually a leader has to lead people.
I always say, Brian, the hardest thing for me is actually not the navigation. I actually can navigate pretty well. Is actually getting the organisation of people together to the bloody start of the walk. That is the major problem. I've had so many people, sometimes get lost and go to the wrong spots and all that, and they get the people together. And then once we're together, so we always have the circle. We always say our name. I remember spur about the walk, and then we get cracking. But the thing is, sometimes people, I've had so many people, oh, there's traffic. I'm going to be late. Like, can you wait half an hour? No, I can't. See you later. I mean, this is one thing I wouldn't mind talking about as well. What are people's ideas about how long should a leader wait for somebody?
I was brutal in the olden days of full pack walking, and there was a reason. If the full pack long distance walks that I used to lead in the 80s and 90s,
yeah,
the really tough long walks,
yeah,
I had to start at a time, to finish at a time, to get a campsite, to make sure the entire party was safe in, safe out
yeah,
for the journey. If I said we were going to be starting walking at 9, even if it was a 3.5 hour drive to get there, and sometimes it was longer than that to get there, I would wait no more than 5 minutes. I'd go. And they learnt that if they weren't on time, they wouldn't get there.
I've asked many other leaders. I mean, people that we know. I say, well, how long will you wait? Most of them say 10 minutes max. One person said 15, but some people say 0. They said, if you're not here exactly where I'm going, see you later, alligator, blah, blah, blah. Try to catch up if you can, if you don't, whatever. So, which I thought was actually a little bit brutal, but they said, no, these days of Google will tell you, okay, how far from A to B. Okay, so, and like, I mean, there's no reason, and things like, I just went the other day, she rang twice to me, I've slept in. I said, don't ring me a third time. Seriously, forget it. I mean, you're not a 5-year-old. I mean, it's like my dog ate my homework. Sorry, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? So I just put her off. I said, don't bother contacting me. And then another one person rang me up. Oh, can you start walk half an hour later? Right. Yeah, I'll have 20 people just waiting for you for half an hour. We have a coffee or whatever. Sorry, no, that won't work. Don't ring me again. So I can be a bit brutal sometimes and say, look,
no, that's not brutal. That's normal. The other thing is no shows.
If people don't ring me a no show, okay. Normally I'll ring them up, Brian. I say, okay, why didn't you call me? And they haven't got a damn good reason. I don't have them again in a story. People don't do that to me, actually. I mean, that happens to me. I'm not joking. 1% of 1% of people would ever do that to me because I know that if you do it once, goodbye. And I've done that. People don't ever contact me again. And people get to know I'll do that, and I won't tolerate that ever. Just rubbish. Because in these days of communication, and okay, something happens. I don't know, the bloody car won't start or whatever. Okay, you can still send a text. If I get that text later, and I said the text was sent at 6:00. Okay, my car won't start. And I think, what happened to Joe Blow? Why didn't he turn up? Then I found that's the reason. I'll forget my mate. Okay, that's fair enough. But if they don't call and don't ring and don't leave a message, sorry, that's unforgivable for me. Yeah, without sounding too bullshit about it.
Can't argue with you, Mark.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so
All right. Now look, it's about I think 8:15.
No,
No.
8:06.
Oh, 8:06. All right. I think what we'll do is open it up for questions dash comments from the everybody there, and you
Perfect.
can turn yourself on. You can both
Unmute.
screen and unmute. I don't know whether Julie is stretching or wants to say something, but I suspect she wants to say something.
Me?
Yeah.
Julie,
I just want to say I love this group. That's all I want to say.
Oh, Julie.
I met Julie first. I'll tell you a bit about Jules. Julie comes to meet me at Carrington Falls. She turns up in this bright pink car with this dog on the side. I didn't know Julie at all. Although I heard that she had a drug grooming business, full of life and as energetic and as positive a person I've ever met. And Julie had probably done about 20 walks with me in that short period of time. Probably about a year I've known Jules for. And she's a great person to be with, and she's a very warm-hearted person. And anyway, so she's just one of the people I've met in the last year that I'm very happy to and being a walkers. And anyway, so I'm very happy to have her on any walk we ever do.
Thank you. I just want to say congratulations to Bob for Sunday. You're a superstar.
And now, come on, Bob, confess, what did you do?
Hurt my legs. Did a marathon.
Oh, the run. Is that all? I thought you were doing something special.
No, 30 kilometers. 30 kilometers was great. The last 12 were pretty bad.
I mean, having said this, Bob comes on my walk on Saturday. We did Giracool, we did the circuit with the Staples, only 14 kilometers, pretty easy.
Yeah.
Anyway, although some people actually didn't think that, but anyway, that's another story. But and Bob said, I got these, shot hamstrings. I was supposed to be, I'm going on a 42K run to me. And you come on the bloody walk? Are you crazy? I said, really? I said, I don't believe that. He said, oh yeah, but I like to walk and blah blah blah. I'll be okay. So I thought, my God, I thought that was. I have great admiration for doing the walk, and the last 12 kilometers he told me were absolute agony. And even when we're back at Urandry a couple of weeks ago, and his hamstrings were supposed to be doing nothing, we're climbing bloody Moochie Wars in Urandry Peak. So I mean, you should be sitting there stoking the fire, and I couldn't believe you're going to do that. Literally a week after I had this diagnosis from the doctor, don't go, just take it easy, don't do anything much. And we're at Urandry for 3 days. So yeah, Bob's unstoppable.
I'm really proud of Bob.
Thank you.
Bob's just trying to get a position on the Sydney FC squad.
Oh, jeez. 30 years of soccer and 2 operations on my ankle. That was that. I started Mark's walks were much easier.
Thank God for that.
Okay. Yeah.
But mind you, Bob has said to me he'd never climbed Federation Peak because he saw the photographs of Federation Peak and said, you know what, I wouldn't bloody climb it again either.
No, I don't think the Federation peaks for my age either now.
Have you done it? Have you done it, Brian?
No, a long time ago.
I just look at the videos and shake my head.
Yeah. Have you ever been on top of Bishop and Clark on Maria Island?
I have.
Yeah, I've been on, yeah. Bishop and Clark,
what do you think of the view from up there?
pretty amazing. I also like the view down the bottom too. You know why? Down the bottom, Bishop, down on the seashore, there's the most amazing fossil cliffs.
Yeah, I actually thought once that I'd really like to go back and do Bishop and Clark on my 80th birthday. And I don't know why I made that statement because it's getting too bloody close now. But it wouldn't be bad to sit on top of Bishop and Clark and look straight down that plunging side at the other side.
It's interesting when you talk about big birthdays, Brian, because a mutual friend of ours, Maureen Carter, when she turned 60, she walked 60 kilometers for her 60th birthday. Then she turned 70 and walked and cycled 70 kilometers. Now, the other day she's turning 80, or maybe she hasn't turned 80 yet, or maybe she's coming up.
It's in the next week, isn't it?
Next week, yeah. So I said to Maureen the other day, you doing 80? I'm thinking about it, but it might be driving 80.
Good honor. That's fine.
But I mean, Maureen's another example. I tell you something about. This is talking about walks and that. A while ago, I mean, a couple of times I've had injuries, I've had like hernias and whatever, and other people that walk to me. Now, a couple of years ago, I had a problem. I won't even go to what it was. Maureen and David Carter took over my walk. Bob had met Maureen before, and we're doing a walk to Oyster Cave, right? A Roasted Head, Oyster Cave. So they get the car park, and Maureen gets out, and with Bob, and Bob's Maureen gets with David, and Bob said, "Who's this old geezer? You know, I wonder who she is." You know, and said, "Oh, I'm Maureen. I'm leading the walk for Mark." And Bob and a lot of people thought, "Oh, God, we'll be walking at a funeral pace." Maureen and David took off like a rocket. The others couldn't keep up with her. They lifted behind the dust. And I said, we've been walking for 50 bloody years. What are you waiting for? Come on, hurry up. You know? So the point I'm making is this: you never judge a book by its cover. Maureen is absolutely indomitable, unstoppable, and at 80 years old, she wouldn't surprise me. She did 80 bloody kilometers in a day, because she is quite an incredible person. So all I'm saying is, the point I'm making is this: that if you keep on walking, maybe and I think walking actually keeps you happy, good for the endorphins and all that sort of jazz. But it actually makes you young, I think, you know. And once you stop walking, you might as well be 6 foot under. That's my philosophy.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Judy,
to ask,
So Brian,
go ahead,
years,
Judy.
as the years pass by, how do you maintain your walking fitness? Like, are there tips and tricks?
My dear, all I do is I work as the gardener. I work 7 or 8 days a week. I also tend to walk back to the station. I walk about 10 k's every single day. I've never been to the gym in my life. I'm not joking. I never have been. Not that I'm against them. I'm not. But I also, it's interesting. I tell you something. When COVID was on, and everyone was stuck on their LGA and doing bugger all. Although in the Blue Mountains was a very big LGA, so we're doing a lot of things, and everyone was gnashing their teeth because we were doing this stuff. I found that I was starting to eat less, and I have found that maybe my stomach's contracted somewhat, but I eat a lot less now than I ever did when I was even 5 years ago. And I think that with the exercise so I'm doing, it keeps me pretty healthy. I don't know, maybe because of, you know, cafes and all the stuff like that, I got sick of my own home cooking, that I ate less. I'm not sure what the reason was, but I don't know. I just noticed these sort of things. And anyway, as for walking, like I walk every weekend, and I work 5 days a week, and I think that keeps me very fit, and that's why I don't need to go in the gym. And I walk everywhere virtually. I do drive someplace, of course, but you know, I go home and walk the dog, of course. So anyway, and you know about that, Julie, because you walk dogs as well. So as for your question, I haven't just changed it at all. What I do now, I've been doing for a long time, and I hope that it seems to have stood by me. So I'm not going to change it. You know, I'm not become a gym junkie all of a sudden. That's for sure.
Now, Judy, where are you asking the question from? Are you back home, or are you still up at Dunbogan?
No, I'm back home.
Judy's been doing the NPA weeding program in Crowdy Bay National Park.
Right, okay. Well, as a bit of a weed expert, I hope you had the right gloves and all the. I'm sure you had the right equipment. What sort of weeds are up there? I wouldn't have a clue. I haven't been to Crowdy Bay.
Crofton,
Bitter,
Bidens,
Yeah.
Cape Ivy,
you name it.
Fine Glory.
Well, today I was doing some bush care work at sort of property at Hunters Hill, and mostly what we tackled up these damn trees was, and this was as thick as my wrist, I'm not joking, Madeira vine.
Yeah.
Mother of millions. The most disgusting vine in the world. I hate it. But anyway, that's what I was doing today. Climbing up this bloody tree, pulling this vine off. So those are the sort of things that keep me fit. Weeding.
Yeah, definitely.
Walking keeps you fit.
Walking keeps me fit.
Absolutely.
And I must say that I really like the overnight walking, and going back to that, the very first, probably from 16 to join the NPA in the first probably 10, 15 years, I hardly ever did a day walk. It was always a pack walk. It wasn't a pack walk where we didn't go. So every weekend we get our pack together, the paddy pack and all that stuff we get. And after some, I just left it in the bag. I didn't even take it out half the time. My sleeping bag, my tent is left in there. If it didn't get wet, I'd leave them there. And we go walking almost every weekend. It was the Blue Gums, or the Butterwangs was always one of my, and it still is one of my very favourite places to walk.
Yeah.
Or then we went to MMB. I'm not MMB because you can't actually do overnight walks here, but Gardens Stone area and the Blue Mountains, of course. Blue Breaks did 7 or 8 day walks here, and so forth and so on. And then we went for a field to do walks, like to do the Biblum Trap. And Australia's, we're very lucky that we have a lot of good walking tracks. We have thousands of kilometers of walking tracks. We're quite blessed like that, really. You know, so I think there's never ever a shortage of places to go and people to go with. You know, and I've noticed that the popularity of a lot of the Facebook sites. One site which I'll give a plug to is Take a Hike, which is a site which only started just over a year ago with 100 people. They've got 40,000 members. In 1 year, it's gone from 0 to 40. Now, I think that is quite incredible. And the club, I manage one of the sites, Sydney Hiking Group, now has 120,000 members. Now, I don't know how many of them actually go. A lot of them are probably overseas or whatever, although it's stopped people from joining from overseas. But what I'm saying is there is a huge interest in walking. It might not be a club so much, but people getting out there in the bush. I don't think that has waned one iota. I think people just love it more than ever. Whether it's for what various reasons of showing themselves off and posing or whatever, it's up to you. I'm not going to be scabby about it. It is what it is. But there's certainly a lot of people out there getting in the bush for whatever reason it is. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was about 5 years ago that apparently I ticked over more than 50 full pack walks in the Kosciuszko area.
Wow.
And you're right, the Budawangs is probably my favourite area to disappear into and go walking and into.
By the way, Brian, for one reason, because I'm a slacky sometimes, you didn't have to take a tent. Not the Monument Valley itself, but 7 guides, sunrise, sunset cave.
There are a few caves. There are a few nice caves to camp.
And I would go there on a walk, 3 or 4 day walk at Easter time with a lot of people that we know and walked in previous years, and we camped there, get the fire going. And the other reason I really love camping at night is I love the campfire. So where I do, like went to the Larrabee Trail, no fires. Walking Tassie, no fires. Tasmania is my favourite place for walking, without a doubt. But you can't have fire; you just live with it and deal with it. But I must admit, in the old days when we started walking down there, we could have fires. I just love that. But look, we cut weekends ago where year round we could have fires there. Sitting around the campfire, one of the great joys of life. I just love it. I really love it. And I also, because you're not leading and you've got people great strung out, you're all around the talking, whatever, having a couple of glasses of wine, whatever, and toasting marshmallows, whatever you want to do. To me, that's one of the best parts of the entire day. I just love that.
Three sausages stuck on the end of an old piece of wire.
Well, Bob takes a thick 2-inch steak normally.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Or Cox's River, no, not Cox's, Jenolan River. Jenolan River, when the water is low, catch a trout, wrap it in foil and throw it on the hot coals.
I must say I love catching trout. I'll tell you a story, Brian. Years ago, I went with 10 people. There was 14 of us. We walked in via Snaky Plain Trail. We walked down to Wheelers, then we walked to Pretty Plain, and then we did Jagungal, and we did a few other places, and we walked out via Brown Mountain. There's a guy, Phil Patterson, on the walk, and you know him. He was there with another friend of mine, Mike Robertson, and we camped at Pretty Plain Hut. And I said to Phil, okay, there's 14 of us on the group, 13 of us are non-vegetarians, 1 woman's a vegan. If you catch 13 trout, we'll see how Dursko's. About 3 hours later, we came up with 13 trout. I'm not joking, which is over the limit. 13 trout. He also bought the foil, he bought the garlic, he bought the slice of lemon. We cooked them on the fire. One of the most amazing experiences bushwalk I've ever done in my life. Just don't tell that the whoever in charge of stocking the river, the trout, they probably caught over the limit. Anyway, that's another story. And we also did this similar thing when we walked in the Mooring Deep. There was 10 of us, and we caught 10 trout.
Yeah. For those of you who've never been to Pretty Plain, make sure you do at least once in your life.
It's my favourite hut in the mountains.
It's absolutely stunning spot, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I love it. Yeah, anyway, so.
Don't you get looking at dead trees around that area?
Well, there's been an awful lot of fire through it at the moment, Philip, hasn't there? It hasn't. Look, I'm going to have to say that I'll never see it like I used to see it in my lifetime. The cycle for regrowth down there is roughly 70 odd years, and we're getting fires more frequently than 70 years, unfortunately. So, yeah, while I'd love to see it again in that beautiful state, I'm not. And yes, dead trees are all over the place. But you're talking possibly about the dieback dead trees on the Cooma area, or are you talking about the ash stuff from the fires?
No, I was talking about the fires, but I'm
Right.
mainly talking about, I think it was 2003, wasn't it?
Yeah. That
got-
one is still, they actually call that phenomena old man's beard. The hillside of all these white bristly pieces of hair sticking out of them, really like a growth of beard. And apparently it's a phenomena that's for years been like that. But yeah, that fire is, I went through it the area last in December, and it still looks pretty sad.
I'll tell you something also, Brian. We were in the Wars of Jerusalem area, and in 1968, the Black Friday fire from Tassie ripped through there and killed off a lot of pencil pines.
Yeah.
Now, we were there like a couple of years ago, and you don't find any small pencil pines because anyone who do come up that managed to see from the giant ones. A lot of them actually, I've been told by the rangers, they're actually favourite food for wallabies. And so anyway, so they don't get a chance to come up. I mean, that's just natural part of life, I suppose you could say. But I mean, 68's a long time ago, and things haven't regenerated, and they're never probably going to regenerate. And they're probably the same like these fire, a lot of these places. I was walking in the Copperas in 2003 when fires came through. We had a hightail over. We went by a place called Seldom Seen, which the very next day burnt to the ground. Little hamlet, but that's another story. But the thing was, a lot of these old snow gums. I mean, they're so. When I see snow gum which haven't been burnt, it gives me a lot of joy because I'm thinking, well, these are precious. Like we climbed to Gungle the other last year in December, and there's a few pockets up there which hadn't been burnt, and it was just so lovely to see them. It was just a joy.
I should mention just before we part, and I can't remember how long ago it was, that Mark and I physically met, believe it or not, of all places, at Kawombat Flat.
That's right.
Many, many years ago. I was leading a party in from, from Dead Horse Gap. So
Yeah.
it was I think a 5-day full pack walk loop for me. And I don't know which way you were going in, Mark, from the
I came from the
Victorian side,
I
weren't
came
you?
from the Victorian side. I think it's called Black Horse Ridge or some Black Horse Trail or something.
And Kawombat Flat, of course, is on the Victorian-New South Wales border, and it is the beginnings of the Murray River.
That's right. We went to try to find it, and there's supposed to be some stick. There was spring, and honestly, we bush bashed around for a while, and I did for Henry Kelly Cunningham. I think it was Henry Kelly Cunningham. That anyway, I can't even remember if I saw it or not. To tell the truth, actually, we did see it, and we had to jump over the Murray, which is about a half a mile. I thought it was probably about 30 centimeters wide, and this is the Murray River because it was Janet and Henry Cunningham. So yeah, that was a while ago.
But
now it's called. I mean, it's called unfortunately, horse poo flat because there's a great piles of horses there these days.
Yeah.
I've been there for about 10 years now, but last time I was there, we must have seen about 50 brumbies. Although hopefully these numbers are getting somewhat cold.
They are, but I'm not going to discuss brumbies here with you today.
No,
we probably discussed them while I was over. I'm sure Andrew would have raised them. Judy, you were at the call last meetings for the branch when we had Andrew Cox as our guest. Did he talk wild horses?
Not much. Not really.
He was very self-restrained, wasn't he then? I said, did he talk about fire ants instead?
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, okay.
If I ran up in the bush, Brian, I'm really going to get worried.
All right. I'm going to go around the room and check with everybody, and they can all confess to their favourite walk while we go, if you don't mind. I'm going to begin with you, Ruth, if you don't mind.
Oh, dear. No, well, I haven't been on any of your walks, but I've just come back.
You don't have to have been on one of ours to have a favourite walk.
Well, I've just come back from the Dolomites in Italy, and I did a walk with Ramblers.
Yeah, okay.
5 days, and it was in the gentle scale. And I was looking up thinking they have a different scale from the ones that you have. You've sort of got 1 to 6, and they have 1 to 9. And so this was a level 3. It was a beautiful walk, beautiful sunshine. I walk for scenery. That's what I'm after.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
There are many reasons for walking.
Yes.
Yeah. I've actually been advocating walking slow to some people so that they will look at things as they walk past them. There was one person who used to post, I did from point A to point B in so many minutes.
Oh.
and I dared say, "What did you see on the way on that
Mm.
person's post?"
Mm.
Anyhow, Bob,
Probably anything in Tasmania and in the Budawangs.
yeah, well, fair enough. I can't understand why you wouldn't say that. What about you,
Yeah.
Bronwyn?
Acropolis. That's a pretty good one.
The Acropolis is lovely. Yes. Yeah.
And,
Did you go swimming in the top in the lakes on the top of the labyrinth?
no, someone else did, but I didn't. Yeah, we did.
Wimp.
A few people swam.
Okay, Bronwyn.
But, I might do Mariah next year if you're interested.
Yeah.
Do you whatever it's
Pick
called?
me.
Can I
I'm
have a,
coming with you,
I just
All right.
don't want to.
there you are, Bob? You've got a leader. Bronwyn, would you come on with a picture and on you with your screen, or not? Maybe she's having a sneaky drink behind the scenes. Vera,
Know if you can hear me.
I can. Yeah,
Ah,
Hi, Vera.
hooray. Hi. Hi, everyone.
you do look cold, Vera. Are you in the snowy mountains at the moment?
Yeah, I left the window open, so forgot to close it. I haven't walked as as many as you all have. I think like the NT Lara Pinta with that blue, orange, and all sort of hues. The rocks like really fascinate me.
Yeah,
That part near Almaston Gorge.
Beautiful place.
it is. Yeah, I took
Yeah,
an
Pinta.
NPA, I took an NPA party there in 2014. It was one of my highlights of my life too. Yeah,
yeah, and I was fascinated with the landscape,
yeah.
the colors of the rocks and the cultural significance. I think it's take all the boxes.
Vera,
I didn't know orchids, but no orchids, right? I know
yeah.
you like looking at orchids.
Yeah,
You
that's
see many
true, but
orchids there, Pinta.
I haven't seen orchids there, but I saw this I forgot what it's called, hakia, like
Hey,
the
yeah.
pink
Pink cake, yeah.
yes, it
They're beautiful.
Vera,
mean,
you've just woken up somebody down the bottom. I'm going to jump from you to Elaine, who is besotted by orchids.
Yes. Um, I love walking. I think I walk almost every day.
I think you do too.
Yeah. And I love them all. I mean, today I was actually just out walking by myself down in Dark's Forest. I ran into Ken Griffiths, would you
Oh,
believe it?
well, he likes the frogs down there, Elaine.
Yes. So we had a chat. It's just so lovely who you meet
Yeah.
along the tracks. And
You'd met Ken before, I think, hadn't you?
yeah, on your walk.
Yeah.
But one of my most recent really great memories was walking in the islands in Italy with my husband. He never comes on my walks, and but this was the first time that we ever walked together.
Wow.
It was our first holiday without the children, so that was pretty special. But do you know what? No walk is a bad walk. Every walk is great. I love it, whether I'm alone or with friends or with strangers that later on become friends. I love them all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Vera, back to you. I'm going to ask a tougher question now.
yes.
Which are the walks that you remember the most? Because sometimes I discover it's the walks that have been problematic when you're doing it that you talk about for the rest of your life.
Bridal Mountain.
I remember the most. Which one? I can't put like numbers all of this. Like probably the recent one, like because like the Tree Capes, it's an easy walk. It was like really well curated walk with kind of different rock formation. I was fascinated by this
Yeah.
dolomite or basalt rock.
That's all. Yeah, yeah.
But I think it's like it's really well curated. It's an easy walk. Like most of the tracks are like really um man arranged by like the Tasmania Park. So that's one of the
Yeah.
most recent that I did. So that probably um that's why I remember it so well.
Yeah.
But
Can't
a
hardly
walk
hear
in the wilderness in Garden of Stone. I love to go on Mark's walk, but unfortunately I work every Saturday now, so I could not. I haven't been
I know I
walking.
haven't seen you for quite a while. But
Yeah,
other orchid lovers like Annette, and I said I haven't seen Vera for a long while. I said, oh, I'm not sure what she's up to these days. I'm not sure. So yeah,
Well, I
now I
got
know.
into trouble with Vera because I only lead walks on the weekdays, and she says I can't walk with you. So now that means we've got to go on Sundays.
yeah. Saturday and Wednesday, my day off. So that's the
Okay,
2
I'll
days
remember the
that I
Wednesday,
can go
Vera.
walk.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
would love
take
to
you out
go.
for a walk on a Wednesday, Vera.
Um, I used to walk with Bandula, but now I walk with small friends, a few friends. I'm on an exploration mode, so I like to go and explore that like caves at the moment. I found the Bubble and Hornet caves at Heathcote, and this I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Fisherman Cave. Been walking that track near Gibbon Head balconies many times. I didn't know that there's a cave underneath. So that sort of small things like
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Sonia?
Sorry. My favorite ones are actually in the Alps. I'm
Oh, I
originally,
don't blame you. That's beautiful.
yeah, because I'm
Are
originally
you
from,
are you from
Spectacular.
that part
I'm
of the
from
world?
Munich. Yeah, I'm from
Yeah, yeah.
Munich, very close to them. So that's what I'm missing
Yeah,
because there's nothing like that going in the Alps. And yeah, the Dolomites are just the most favorite ones.
yeah,
There's nothing like that in Australia, that's for sure. I mean, really, I mean,
No.
when you see those amazing towering, those towers are incredible. I'd love to walk on the Dolomites. It'd be an amazing place to go.
yeah. I
Yeah.
certainly enjoyed walking up behind behind Lake Constance and up into the Swiss Alps when I was there
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Impressive.
yeah.
They really are. Yeah. And
And
otherwise,
yeah,
walking here, I mean, obviously, I share that everything is good.
yeah,
I just like walking, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
yeah,
Just being out, that's really the key. And I'm working full time, so I don't really get a lot of that. It's always on and off, but when I can, I'm out.
Any time spent in the bush is precious, I reckon.
yeah.
Yes.
You don't have to do a marathon. You don't have to climb a mountain. You can just be some little spot even close to where you live. That people might not know about. You can go off track and you find a spot, a rock to sit on where no one has been or for a while. Then just sit there, think of your thoughts, looking at the horizons and thinking, well, there's no one near me now. It's very easy actually in the Australian bush to get away from people. You can get away from people. So if you particularly want to get off the track a bit and walk even a short distance, you can get away from people so
Yep.
easily. Be by yourself, and you can find some interesting things. You might find an overhang. You might find a patch of flowers. Doesn't matter what it is. You can get away and have your own little experience. I must say that I don't walk by myself very often because I've always got a great cavalcade of people come with me, but because it is what it is. But I do actually love being as long as I'm in the bush, I'm happy. Basically, I've always said some of my occasionally my daughters come along as well. Obviously my beautiful wife always mostly comes along most of my walks, but if for them and for friends, that's one of the happiest in my life. Seriously, in the bush.
Yeah.
Hard to beat.
Cheryl, what about you? Are you actually hiding or drinking alcohol behind the scenes like I think Bronwyn is? Staying firmly silent. And Divya has pleaded with me. I don't know if you saw the flash across the screen for me not to ask her any questions because
We love
she's
you,
just
Divya.
but has begun walking, I believe, with you, Mark, and I'm sure she has memories already.
Well,
Divya, if you want to say hello to everybody, by all means, come and say hello anyhow.
I'm going to say something for Divya. If you just want to say anything, she contacted me last week and she said, I've got a few days off. I really need to get bush. So a place we've just been talking about before is I said, well, you can't beat Burrenbeat Brook. And so she went off by herself and in a very sort of a brave move and she went and walked in from Wog Wog into Burrenbeat, stayed in the massive camp cave there, had the whole place to herself, which is absolutely amazing because I was there June last year. There was about 5,000 scouts there. So we couldn't have it but to ourselves whatsoever, and had a fantastic experience, had a fire, built the fire, and I'm very proud of her. Although she was trying to dodge all these brown snakes on the track, which turned out to be legless lizards. And think, oh my God, I saw so many brown snakes. I said,
yeah, I thought it was brown snake, but then for me, anything is a snake. It's just like so scary.
I am so proud of you, Divvy. You went out there on your own.
Thank you. I wouldn't have done without Mark, but then I'm fairly new to hiking, so I enjoy every walk I do.
And listen, if that's one of your first ever walks on your own out there, it's
amazing.
Oh my God,
that Burrenbeat Brook area used to be my own little heaven before everybody discovered that cave. Gee, I was pissed off when I discovered everybody was using it.
Yeah, I was happy that no one was there. I'm not a brave person in the night,
and when
but
I
was happy.
when I discovered that there's actually a toilet delivered for everybody, that really made me upset.
I know, it's still there.
Who is taking away my little isolated heaven?
I know.
Because there was actually no track at all up to the cave.
Wow, it's well marked now. It's well, you can't just get lost.
And I would actually make sure that every time I went to that cave, I took a different route so I didn't make a bad work up there.
Yeah, but some people do get lost. Somebody very famous a couple of years ago, one of my walks, went out for a toilet break and spent the night in the bush because you couldn't find a way back to the campsite.
She must have gone a very long way.
Names mentioned, but the thing was,
I heard about this story only 3 weeks ago.
Anyway, it was a very interesting thing because a lot of people like Helena Smith and other people said, "Where's so and so? I haven't seen him all night."
I know. She was she spent an entire day trying to explain it away to me when we discovered it.
I'm surprised she actually told you the story. Actually,
well, somebody else told me a fair bit of it first.
Oh, but well, she's always trying to keep that quiet, that little thing. But anyway, she survived, thank God.
Now Cheryl has turned her microphone.
Yes,
yeah,
I have.
Go on.
Sorry, I was talking away and realised I'd hit the wrong button. I go walking probably 3 times a week in National Park, Royal.
Yeah.
But my favourite walks have been in Tasmania and South Island, New Zealand. But I really regret the time that I went to the Tarn Shelf in New Zealand. My knees had blown up 2 days before, so I didn't actually get to the Tarn Shelf, but I could actually see the Tarn Shelf from where I was. So I really hanker to go back there. I don't do pack walks. I'm really happy to do pack-free walks. And I've basically taken up bushwalking too late in life to be running around with a pack. And yeah, and I'm slow. So your idea of slow walks actually suits me quite fine.
Slow's fine. It depends on how you define slow. To me, slow walking is walking at a pace that allows you to see what you are walking through. And not just to see it, but to understand it and feel it and really notice. I know Elaine caught me out walking and talking and still spotting a prassophyllum one day, didn't you, Elaine? And still wondering how I did it.
Brian, I love your walks. It gives me such an opportunity to learn, not just from you, but, from everyone who comes on your walks.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find the Indigenous paintings on the rocks at Marley Headland.
Oh,
and Brian showed us how to get there, but of course, and I do remember there was a bit of a section where there was a bit of a height, and I'm not good with heights. And I have tried to show other people
that particular
section, and but I've never found it again. So I'm going to have to go on another
You'll have
walk.
to come again. Yep. Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes. And the last one I did with NPA was we went on the, we came back via, like it was coast track, but came back via the fire trail at the back that goes at the back of Bundina and went across the link track.
Yep.
And I ended up slipping. There was a lot of water. It was very slippery. I was shredded by hakias. It was very overgrown. I was covered in blood, so it wasn't a good
sound
walk.
dramatic.
Well, I just I did say I'd never do that track again, but I've done the fire trail was fine, but that link track was it wasn't very wide.
overgrown, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And lots of water, and that was in about March.
That's the sort of trackless walking that my wife described as the divorce walk, by the way.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
I think I spoke to you about that actually. Yeah, I think I met you on a track. I think it was around probably Guatemala to Gary, something like that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that. But yeah, I'm really happy to walk by myself. But I don't do anything more than a 3. If I'm by myself, I'm happy to do a 4, but I won't do it in a group.
Yeah.
I'm just not confident enough.
Well, look, I think it's it's 9:15. We've done very well tonight. We talked our heads off. I did say in the notes that we put up advertising this walk that Mark and I could both talk underwater, or I didn't use exactly those words. But given that most of you know either Mark or myself or both of us, you probably already knew that and knew what you were getting in for anyhow. And Mark, thank you very much. I think it has been an enlightening and useful ability to share with everybody. Okay, thank you all, and
Thank you.
good night.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian and Mark.
Okay, catch you later, guys. See you
Love
later.
you,
See you,
Julie.
Jules.
Love
See
you.
you, Mark. See you, Div.
Love you, Bobby.
Hey, Bob.
Bye.
Congrats.
Jules.
See you soon
Bye.
in the scrub. Bye.
See ya.
Bye,
Bye.
all.
Bye.
Bye.